As in the past, the World Food Program has been tireless in their efforts to help the country, and now it has beefed up its operations to assist the government in its efforts to help affected communities recover and rehabilitate from the disaster, with one main focus being food security. To talk more about their efforts is its head of food security, Dipayan Bhattacharyya. Welcome to the program, sir. Good to have you on. Tell us first about the work of the World Food Program in the Philippines when there are no disasters.
When there are no disasters, people need to still strive and move forward. They need to move forward. What we generally provide here in the Philippines, we have a program in Mindanao, central Mindanao, which is conflict-affected area. We are providing a continued support on livelihoods so that people would get back to their farming, would get back to their fishing. We are providing training. We are providing linkages to various government programs so that these people would be able to once again access longer-term government-funded and other bilateral donor-funded programs. We are providing school feeding support to more than 120,000 children, whereby these poor children would be encouraged to go back to their schools and continue their learning. We are providing nutrition support, especially to children under 5 years and pregnant and lactating women, targeting them when they are undernourished and they need extra support, and their home-cooked food may not be enough to revive their nutritional status. Apart from that, we are also working very closely with the national, provincial and municipal governments in selected areas to build their capacities on disaster preparedness and response, so that at times of disasters they would be better prepared and cope, and they would enhance their resilience in normal times. So the disaster preparedness and response capacity building program is largely being undertaken in Luzon, in some parts of Visayas as well as in Mindanao, whereas our food assistance program is primarily focusing in Mindanao.
Okay, so 2 weeks ago we had Yolanda hit the Visayas, and you were down there as soon as the Sunday after. And you saw this disaster when it was very, very fresh. What were the things that the WFP was able to do immediately, if anything at all, because it was just hard to mobilize anything?
Yeah, we were 5 of our staff, we were immediately deployed, with 3 of us being international and 2 of our national colleagues. Immediately what we did, we tried to assess the situation. It was very difficult to reach out to many areas because of the roads were blocked with debris, and so, but whatever we could do, we started talking to the local governments, trying to understand the extent of the devastation, and we started communicating with our office in Manila, which was also a great challenge. Communication was all broken, but we had our satellite phone, and we started communicating, okay, what is the extent of need and food assistance that would be needing. And DSWD from the government end was there from the very beginning, so we started talking to Secretary Dinky Soliman and Assistant Secretary Goodmalin to understand what would be the extent of assistance that government would be providing, so that we can understand the gaps that are there, which agencies like World Food Program and others would be able to fill in. Accordingly, World Food Program decided to support 2.5 million people with immediate food assistance, and then gradually we move more towards livelihood recovery programs through some cash and food assistance that we would be providing once again jointly with the government. Our effort in the Philippines, being a middle income country, is that government is taking lead in every relief and recovery effort, and agencies like World Food Program, ILO, etc., providing complementary support to government's efforts in recovery.
Okay, part of that complementary effort is the food that you actually bring in, and we've heard a lot about the high energy biscuits that come from your organization. Why are these sort of like an ideal food in times of a disaster, and what's contained in them? Well,
in times of any significant disaster, people would have nothing to eat. They would lose everything, their household utensils, cooking facilities, houses would be damaged, so they won't be able to cook anything, and what they need is something which is ready to eat. So through years of research, we have developed something called high energy biscuits, which is, it looks like any normal biscuit, but it's not available in the normal market. We generally have worked with several producers globally who have the capacity to produce these high energy biscuits. It contains 15 essential minerals and vitamins, as well as one packet gives 450 kilocalorie and 10 grams of protein.
Okay.
So at times of disaster, people, if they eat one packet, they can easily survive for some time, you know. So every day, if people would have access to one packet of biscuits and with some other food commodities that would be donated from other people, it would be enough for people to survive.
Okay, you have other stuff as well. Tell me what's in the little orange tubs and in the packets.
Yes, this is something that we particularly provide. It's called Plumpy Dose. This is used for children under 2 years and also as a prevention for undernutrition, because at times of disaster people would only possibly be eating rice or, you know, very little quantity and less in terms of, you know, diversity. So what they need is something which is concentrated food, particularly for children, because they are the most vulnerable in terms of, you know, impact of disaster.
And that requires no cooking. They just open it up and
you
it's
open
ready
it up,
to go.
it's ready to eat. Just give 2 scoops and it will give you essential vitamins and minerals and some energy. Then we also provide, we identify children who already have reached a level of moderate malnutrition and needs something which is what we call treatment for acute malnutrition. So we provide, this is something which is called supplementary Plumpy, which is almost similar in terms of formulation but with higher levels of fortification, etc. So this is given as a treatment for children under 2 years, so that, you know, the first 2 years of a child is most important. 60% of your mental development and physical development would happen actually in the first 2 years. So that's why we need to arrest those further deterioration at times of disaster, and this is something which we would provide. For children who are between 2 years to 5 years, we in this response we would be providing, this is what is called micronutrient powder. If a family is cooking porridge or anything, you know, you can just sprinkle on top of the food and it's ready to eat. So this once again contains 15 essential vitamins and minerals. So this is something we will be providing to our targeted children in Typhoon Yolanda area.
Okay, now you've mentioned a lot about how you work with the local government, the Philippine government. When you guys are actually on the ground, are you part of the distribution, you know, to the actual victims, or is that something that you were able to hand over to local authorities?
We work in terms of targeting, in terms of doing a distribution planning jointly with the government. We would be handing over to the government, but at the same time our colleagues from WFP, and also we engage a third agency as a neutral body, which are essentially the, you know, non-government organizations, and they would be also joining and monitoring the distribution, because what we want to ensure is the neutrality of even agency. So we maintain it that way, but we work hand in hand with the government. That's our priority, to build capacity through this process, so that in next disaster they would already be in a better position to identify the critical needs and gaps and do the planning and you know, come up with a distribution plan and do the monitoring. So our plan is always first to work with the government, but then also engage an independent NGO to help us doing the monitoring.
Okay, as you know, there's a deluge of people wanting to help and contribute in any way they can. At this point, what does the World Food Program need?
At the moment, what we are appealing is a total need of $88 million, and possibly that would be revised further upwards, only for the food assistance program. But WFP is not only providing food assistance, we are also leading in terms of providing logistics assistance to the entire humanitarian community, including government, and also we are leading in terms of providing emergency telecommunication services in the area. So if you consider food, logistics and emergency telecommunication, our need is more than $100 million, and so far we have mobilized about, I think, $25 million, so the gap is still huge.
Okay, so you would basically, if ever, want donations in cash and not so much in kind? Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, we always encourage donation in cash, and majority of the donors are providing a donation in cash. I must also mention that private sector and even individuals are also, coming forward and contributing. We have received some significant contributions from private sectors here and also globally. Many individuals are getting into our website, and one can get into www.wfp.org/typhoon and contribute directly by using their credit cards, etc. So there are many ways through which one can contribute to WFP.
Yeah, and it's so easy if you just do it online. So
yes.
Yeah, it's very easy for people to donate. So that is great news. Mr. Bhattacharya, thank you so much for joining us.
Pleasure for having me.
Know more about other ways that you can help the survivors of Typhoon Yolanda. That's next, so stay tuned.